What's going on, everybody? My name is Nick. Thank you so much for being here today. You're watching the first episode of a podcast series called Film of the Future, where I, Nick, will be talking about film, the likes of film, future films, film news, everything that has to do with film. Like, I am obsessed with, I genuinely love movies and the art behind movies. I went to college for communications media, which had to do with a lot of background in like TV entertainment, movie entertainment, and things like that. I actually didn't graduate, so there's that. But I'm just really excited to be here. I really hope that I can talk to people that love movies as much as I do. I just feel like I don't really have anybody in my real life that is as attached or really loves movies the way that I do. So, I'm just hoping that I can express that here and that, people are able to follow and understand. I'm actually excited today to talk about Fear Street, to give a review on the trilogy of Fear Street that was released on Netflix, and also the slasher and horror renaissance that I feel like will be upcoming within the next couple months to even like year or so. We have Halloween coming out in October and then Scream coming out in January, and I'm actually really excited for those movies. And before I even knew Fear Street was going to be coming out, that was really all I had to look forward to. But now I feel like there's a lot that is unpacking and starting to come out more and more, especially as we get closer into next year and things like that. I think 2022 is going to be a big year for horror, and I'm just hoping that we have other companies and other things that are able to see that and to come along, because I'm just so excited to see what the future of horror has to hold, and also for new people to be involved and to a new generation to give us a new life and to breathe new life into these movies and give us some new ideas. And that's what I'm really excited about. The I Know What You Did Last Summer television show that'll be released on Hulu, or is it, I think, released on Amazon Prime. That'll give a whole new generation of viewers a look back at 90s teen horror and the movies that I fell in love with growing up. And I'm just really excited to see how these movies shine a new light, and I'm just also excited to see the kills. If I'm being honest, I'm excited to see the kills. I'm excited to see the stories, but I'm just really excited for a new generation of people to see these movies and to be reintroduced to Scream, because it's been so long. I think the last Scream was 2011, which was so long ago. In retrospect, 10 years ago, right? Wow, 10 years ago. And for a I Know What You Did Last Summer TV show to be coming out, I hope that the people that will be watching that can go back and look at other horror movies, and hopefully we get some fresh perspective and some fresh voices in the horror industry, and to make new fresh horror movies, and to give us some good things and slashers, because for a little while now it's really been the Conjuring movies have really stuck around, and while they were great, it's kind of like I'm kind of seeing the same repetitiveness of people being possessed or demonic stories. But I'm excited to see like a more grounded story. I'm more excited to see people just being people and stuff just kind of happening, instead of it being this really crazy backstory with demons and things being possessed. I just want a run-of-the-mill slasher, and hopefully with these movies and the show coming out and this Fear Street trilogy, I'm really hoping people really come back to the aspect of horror, and they can see that horror movies are fun and they're good. after not receiving the sequel to 2018's Halloween last year, we are now going to be getting it in October of 2021 because of the pandemic. And I'm really happy that they waited to release this movie in theaters. I feel like horror movies are a theater experience, especially, Michael Myers and things like that. But with the exception of Fear Street and the Fear Street trilogy, I just thought that though Netflix coming in and grabbing this trilogy was so fantastic for them, and I felt like this trilogy being spread out along the month of July and being split into a 3-week event really, really was so smart of them, and it really made me want to continue to keep watching and wait for the next story and to see what was going to happen. These movies were really, really great. Starting with 1994, which was one of the most familiar movies in the time aspect to me. I thought it was great. I thought the movie was fun. I thought the opening sequence was great. I thought the cast had great chemistry. I really didn't like Dina's approach in the first movie. I don't know what it was, but something was off about it for me. But seeing her come back in the third movie, and she really, really, I think the third movie, even though 1666 was lacking in, I can't necessarily say story. Everything that 1666 lacked, it gained in acting. And I thought that was such a fantastic position because the story was more minimal, but everybody's acting chops were able to come out more, and I really appreciated that, and I really loved Dina at the end of this trilogy rather than the beginning. Especially going back, I actually watched the trilogy twice. Especially going back, you start to watch and you really realize like things you missed at first. Like everything really kind of ties in together, and that's all really thanks to the director and the team that was behind this amazing woman, Leigh Janiak, who really thought about every aspect and even tying those aspects into one another. And sometimes those things weren't even necessary, but the fact that they were thought of feels really like this was a care, like they really cared for this movie and this trilogy. And I really feel like the audience can feel that. I felt that these movies just made me excited for film again. Like I feel like for a little while I really lost, like, not my love for film, but like I stopped watching film, and these were one of the first movies that I've seen in a little while. And starting with 1994, I remember I was like, oh my god, I can't wait for 1978. And then 1978 came out, and it really did live up to the hype. It was so fun. Like, it really was its own standalone movie. But again, having those same elements of the overarching story, but it doesn't feel like if I'm watching that movie, I don't feel left out of, watching the first movie or the other movies. But, obviously it would be good to watch them because of the story. But, the characters in that movie were fantastic. I really loved 1978. I think it was the Friday the 13th atmosphere. And, I thought Tommy Slater was a phenomenal villain. When Ziggy really goes and pulls that like mask and it kind of forms his face, like that was like amazing. And going into 1666, I love the aspect of them bringing back all of the characters from like previous installments, and putting them in the first movie, and putting them in the last movie. And then we get back into modern day times and the tree and the wall and everything like that. It was genuinely an accomplishment, like, to give us these 3 movies shot back to back to back, and the story is good, the cast is good, everything is so good. It just really is a phenomenal feat. And again, like, I'm just so happy that it was released the way that it was on Netflix. I felt like these movies couldn't be released any other way. I think Netflix was the perfect home for these movies. And I love the marketing. I love the way that their team really sold us these movies, and especially the weekly release. Like, that was, I had so much hope. I was like waiting for the other one, but I couldn't wait, and it was really, really great. I think, going back to 1978, I think that was my favorite of the three. I just really loved the cast. I really loved the ambiance. And, there were some great shots in the film. Some of my favorite being when, I don't want to give too much away, but the scene where it's Ziggy and her sister are laying, on the floor. I thought that even though, it was a sad situation, it was just a kind of like a beautiful shot. And even then, I was so surprised that these movies really gave us this gore and really gave us a lot. And they gave us, they gave us cursing, and they gave us blood, and they gave us fun. And it was all of these things. It was scary, it was fun, it was bloody. It just felt, I don't know, I just can't explain it. It just reignited something inside of me that made me really happy. It's one of those movies that feels nostalgic and familiar in a way, but also like new. And I think, that was I would think that was because of the overarching story and how everything was able to interconnect. For a second, I was thinking, I really wished that these movies would have been released in October, but I agree with the middle of the summer release. To watch these movies in October again, I think I'm gonna watch them in October because I just love scary movies, and I love the month of October, by the way. But I love scary movies, and I love watching scary movies in October, but I'm excited to see the feeling that I get watching these in October. I love that the release was in the middle of the summer. It just made sense. And for a second, I really thought that they should have released this trilogy in October, but I'm really glad they didn't. These feel like summer movies. These are the type of movies that, I want to watch in like a backyard with my friends with a projector on, and just be there and experience that in the middle of summer. That's what this feels like. These feel like summer movies. And I was thinking I wanted these in October, but I really remembered Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, which I feel like is a very underrated movie that I would love more people to see. 1994 is what I can best describe it to. It doesn't feel like the same movie. They don't, but something about them feels good. Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark is a really, really good movie, and I really hope more people will see it. And if you haven't seen it, I really suggest you do, especially if you like the Fear Street trilogy, but especially 1994. This movie kind of feels like that, but I don't know. Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark is better than 1994, but I do think the overall Fear Street is just fantastic anyway. But Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark does have that fall atmosphere and that fall vibe, and watching these movies separately and understanding the difference in tone and the difference in atmosphere and things like that, it makes sense. And I'm really happy I was able to see that difference, because for a second I was like, oh my god, these movies in October really would have been it. But everything was perfect. The marketing was perfect, the release was perfect, the cast, the filmography, everything. And I really want people to see this trilogy if you haven't. And if you have, please tell me your favorite parts down below, because I just need to know. I loved, again, 1978 with Slater being the killer, and there being this 1978 just felt gory. Like, it felt like it just kind of didn't care. 1994 was a little more, I can't say reserved because it wasn't. Like, I'm really genuinely so surprised at the amount of gore and the amount of blood that this trilogy was able to give us. And it was just fantastic. It really was. You know, these movies were really able to make me fall in love with film again. You know, between the release of 1978 and 1666, I actually watched Scream. I watched I Knew What You Did Last Summer, and I just put these movies on and I just like kept them on, and I was just like in it. And you know, I don't really do that too often, and it felt really good to do that. And especially these horror movies, you know, on the cusp of these other horror movies, and you know, and it just really, it really did something for me. And I'm really excited, you know, for young people to see this. And I know that sounds bad because it's like the gore and the guts, but it's like, you know, it really is one of those movies that like you sneak with your friends and you go and you watch, and you know you're not supposed to be watching it, but you are, and it feels good, and it's a fun and it's a good movie. And you know, I feel like I really, really hope that in a few years these movies really hold up, because they really are that great, especially the twists and the turns in the end really, really, really did something. It really did something. But if you guys have watched Fear Street, please let me know what you guys thought. What were your favorite parts and favorite elements, especially your favorite scenes? Like I said, you know, I loved when I loved like there was like these like hyper realistic like scenes where it felt like a video game almost. Like the best like way that I can talk about it, or like the best example that I can give, is when the light is swinging above Slater's head and they just put the mask on him and it like sticks to his face. When he is just there, it's just like this like kind of like graininess, like kind of the frames per second goes up, and it just looks different. And those are like amazing elements that I really liked in the film. And I especially love when oh my god, I keep talking about this scene, but when the scene with Ziggy and her sister in the end, it really was a bittersweet moment, because I remember watching that scene and being like, wow, like it's like I didn't want to look away, but like I also wanted to look away, but I didn't. It really, you know, when their hands are just like, you know, just like this, it really was beautifully directed, and there was a lot of care within the crew and the cast, and I felt that. I really, really did. And I'm just so happy that we got these movies, like genuinely. Like, you know, before, you know, the marketing of this movie, I didn't even know that these were going to be a thing, and I'm so happy that they were a thing. I'm happy that they were a trilogy. Nothing felt too stuffed, nothing felt too fast, nothing felt too heavy. They were just overall great films. So again, you know, just let me know what were your guys' favorite scenes. Again, I am Nick, and I just want to thank you guys so much for being here today. If you know, you guys want to follow any of my other social medias, I'll have them here on the screen. I'll have them linked down below. I also have another channel where I'll be doing movie commentaries and reactions, and I'll have that link down below as well. I'm Nick. This is Film of the Future. Bye, guys.